OnEducation's FETC 2020 coverage is sponsored by Fidgets. Fidgets are interactive USB sensors that bring your code to life. There's no soldering or wiring required. Simply plug in a Fidget sensor, write code in your favorite language, and watch your ideas come alive. Fidgets are used by thousands of STEM professionals globally and are now available for computer science students. Simply go to bit.ly/Fidgets on Education to get your introductory kit that includes a free sensor worth over $50. That's bit.ly/Fidgets on Education.
And I used to post videos of me singing a cappella, and I got flagged for copyrighted content.
Sure you did.
That's because you're damn good.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. We're here at FETC with Kristina Ishmael. Welcome.
Welcome.
So happy that you're with us.
We're in Miami in January. It's a great place to be.
Right. It's amazing. I told you privately, we met about a year, about
not even a
6
year
or 7
ago.
months ago.
Yeah.
For the first time. And I love everything that you do, all of the things. And I love talking with you. And you were on like my list of people to come on the podcast this year, and so I'm so happy. Like I was like, yes, she's gonna be here. Let's do it. So I was so happy to be able to do this.
Awesome.
It's exciting. So for anyone who doesn't know who you are and what you
Which
do,
is a lot of people.
Well, we're gonna change that.
We'll break it to the world here.
Absolutely.
Right.
Go ahead and introduce yourself and all the awesome things that you do.
Cool. So my official title is Senior Project Manager for Teaching, Learning, and Tech at a civic enterprise and think tank in Washington, D.C. called New America. I'm on their education policy program. Have been there for about 3 years now, continuing a lot of the work that I led at the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Ed Tech, which is supporting educators, school districts, leaders as they transition away from traditional instructional materials to the use of resources that we call open educational resources. So those are resources that have a Creative Commons license on them that allow for you to revise and remix them and customize them for your local context, which is what I did as a classroom teacher when I was in the classroom back in Omaha, Nebraska. Then was the digital learning specialist for the state of Nebraska before I moved out to DC. So I've been in a whole variety of positions.
All the things.
Yeah.
So we're here at FETC and amazing conference.
Yeah.
What brings you here? Like, what are you presenting on, or what are you discussing?
Had the chance to co-present on a workshop on Tuesday all around conscientious creativity. So where is the intersection of creativity and copyright, as well as Creative Commons? And so when we talk about the ethics and the laws of the use of materials, especially if we want to show mastery, students, when they show mastery of a skill or of different concepts, we want them to create more so than just filling out the bubbles. But we also want them to be aware of using other people's content, creating their own content, and then we also talked about that within the teacher realm as well. And so I was joined by Carrie Gallagher, Monica Burns, and Lynn Kleinmeyer, and had a really great session.
Underrated subject completely. And I'll admit to being someone like, I did like graphic design, I did video stuff, I did music. Such a bad teacher. I was so terrible at this stuff and didn't appreciate that I was missing, like, again, like, I've been super reflective of my time in the classroom since I've been out of it.
Yep.
And totally understand that I missed an amazing digital citizenship opportunity when I didn't talk about, this.
Yeah.
Like respecting, especially now that I'm like a content creator, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
And I was always like big on respecting, especially game designers and like people saying games should be free. And I'm like, well, these people need to eat, right? And earn an income. So don't steal their games. Go buy their games because they need to feed their families too.
Absolutely.
And it's like, but I didn't do a good job of explaining that stuff to my students.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you're helping teachers navigate this because it's important, right?
It is, and I think often of how much I violated copyright in my own classroom, and leading professional development on this for a number of years, that folks don't want to talk about it. because it's kind of scary.
Sure.
And then it's not sexy.
No.
When you put copyright in the title of anything, people are like, no, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Just recently, I was just going to ask you this.
Yeah.
There was a tweet that I put out, and Mike responded with a Canadian response because they have Canadian laws that are different than the United States.
Absolutely.
So it was a specific question that one of the teachers that I serve as an instructional coach was the students were creating these videos.
Yeah.
And they were like, let's just call them a walk through my life videos,
Okay. Yeah.
those kind of things.
Yeah.
And the students wanted to put in copyrighted music clips into these videos. And my question was to the general population of edu-Twitter out there was, can they do this if it's only a clip and we are going to just house it inside of Schoology, let's say?
Yeah.
And really what I wanted to know is the real whys or why nots.
Yeah.
I didn't want someone to just go ahead and do it. You know, those kind of things. Of course, I could just do it and not tell anybody or whatever it might be. Really what I wanted to do was get a better understanding of what the laws are and how this all governed. And what I got was a humongous thread of gray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Even the people that were the experts. There was someone that actually someone knew that worked for the Minnesota Department of Education, specifically in this kind of area,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
And it maybe wasn't Department of Education, maybe it was specific to whatever this might be. And even their response, as they cited some kind of laws, was completely gray.
Yeah.
And in the end, it made me feel like very empty. And because a lot of people responded with, I just do that.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's okay, Glenn. Just let them, whatever. And I'm like, no, this is an opportunity for me to actually go ahead and learn more about this and then give people, the next time this happens, give them the right instruction.
Yep.
You know, I'm supposed to be
Absolutely.
helping
That's
teachers
certainly
to
your
be able
job.
to go ahead and do
totally.
this kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I'm laying this ginormous bomb in front of you here,
and
and I don't even know, like,
so
You
many-
have
With
3 minutes.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
How do we solve
So
copyright?
many things to consider in that specific scenario. Of course, for educational purposes, we often refer to fair use. There are 4 factors of fair use. I would go through the 4 factors and kind of consider all of those pieces. And then you also mentioned Schoology, which is a learning management system. And technically, a learning management system sits behind, it's kind of that walled garden.
Yes.
And so that is technically an extension of the 4 walls of the classroom, which helps us extend that fair use before I would rather put it up on YouTube.
Sure.
Because YouTube runs the algorithm
Of course.
that flags copyrighted content. I mentioned earlier before we got started that I'm a singer, and I used to post videos of me singing a cappella, and I got flagged for copyrighted content.
Sure you did.
That's because you're damn good.
That's how good you are
No,
at
seriously.
Adele.
Not at all.
Is that it got
you would
flagged?
you would have to be able to trigger that algorithm in order to be able to do it. I've sang a lot of songs on my YouTube channel.
Have you?
None of them have
gotten flagged.
So-
That was
So
actually
I'm
that
not
was
on that
actually a
actual thing.
demonstration of your chops right there.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That is
Love
not
it.
why I said that. I'm just simply saying I have been that person that has gotten
No, I
flagged.
gotcha. I'm just
So,
messing with you.
yeah, no. Unfortunately, it is kind of gray. And Mike and I were talking about policy earlier, and that is kind of the world that I live in. And so, especially with advances in technology and policy do not mash up. And so we will have a really long time before those two things catch up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, at least that was a honest response as far as the thing goes. And really, as far as for instructors that are out there, that was a great response as far as that extension of the classroom.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I wanted to know and make sure of that actually is the case.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that people are saying out there that are okay to do as long as you only use X amount of time of the thing.
That is a myth.
That's what I actually did some research and I saw that several times that it's like, don't think that this is actually real.
Yeah.
As long as you blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's a whole list of things that people are just spreading.
Yes.
Let's just call it as a
Absolutely.
thing, but it's not
Yeah.
actual real.
Interesting.
Yeah. And even the learning management system versus a classroom website would be different because classroom website is usually public. And so it's publicly searchable. Same thing with a YouTube video. So, there are definitely differences.
So once it's inside of a walled garden,
Yeah.
like Schoology, there's the law is different a little bit.
A little bit.
Interesting.
The question that got asked in our session actually was, what happens if that student then wants to take it and post it on Facebook or post it on their own YouTube channel? Then it leads to a different question, because if you're using copyrighted content, it's no longer for educational purposes. You're showing something that you've created, but then that leads to a different scenario. So yeah, there are no hard and fast rules, unfortunately. And I am not an intellectual property lawyer. I do always preface by saying that.
Right.
Because
it's complicated,
it is very complicated.
Wow.
And I've heard from many of my Canadian friends, it's a little more cut and dry in Canada. And so sometimes I'm like, that'd be nice.
And it's definitely a lot more lax.
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, like we don't have like, even like in the... back in the, dating myself maybe a little, but like back in like when music downloading was a thing, like you had people getting sued in the United States, and like in Canada there wasn't
a thing.
anything related to that at all.
Napster.
Right, yes. Back in the Napster day, LimeWire days.
LimeWire, yeah.
Oh, nice. Those are the days. Those are the days. So, policy.
Yeah.
So, New America, I mean, and I know that I called it a think tank and you corrected me, but...
No. I mean...
Not corrected me, but... Yeah.
So, traditionally a think tank. Yeah. We now expand it and we say we're also an action tank, and then... we've even expanded to say more of a civic enterprise.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm a policy wonk. We talk policy a lot here.
Yeah.
Again, say it all the time. Everyone's talking about politics and education except for the educators. So we need to be talking. And there's so much to talk about. And I don't even kind of know where... We had like this like huge discussion about teacher pay.
Yeah.
And you're... As it relates to policy in your job, you're talking mainly about curriculum and delivery, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. And again, that kind of comes from the project that I led at the U.S. Department of Education, where we were trying to kind of catalyze what was happening in certain schools where they were kind of moving away from textbooks to the use of different types of resources.
We love that.
So do I. And so we have to keep track of the policy aspect, because we need to know if that's allowable in a lot of states, but also at the district level. If teachers are creating materials, who does the copyright belong to? Does it belong to the district itself? Does it belong to them? So yeah, we definitely look at the policy kind of from the national level, the state level, even down to the local and the district level.
Are districts writing like intellectual property into their policies, like for teacher rules now? Like, is that a thing?
So
yes,
it is. Yeah. And it actually has been for a number of years, but we've never paid attention to it. Because of sites like Teachers Pay Teachers and other places where teachers can share content that they've created and potentially profit off of that, it's become much more of a concern for district leaders.
It would be the way that I've always understood intellectual property rules, and like the way it's almost always written in any contract I've seen.
Yeah.
If a teacher made something for their classroom and then decided to put it up on TPT, they'd be violating their IP contract.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Those materials belong to the district.
It belongs to the district.
Yeah, especially if they use a district-issued device. But then there is also like a gray area where if I created it at home, but then I used it in my classroom...
Then what is it?
It's gray.
Yes.
because you used it in your classroom.
Yes.
So then technically it's on teacher time. Like, it's confusing sometimes.
Does Sauk Rapids have policies related to this stuff?
I don't know if we'd have specifically in our contract written into it, but I'm almost positive that the state of Minnesota itself, there are governing laws that talk specifically to this case, and it's on the side of the district.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's on the teacher side. It's they are likely to win in a lawsuit if they decided to pursue that, which most districts wouldn't, but you never know.
No.
And it's important for us to go ahead and know that.
There is a district that I've worked with, and they have someone at the district office, one of their curriculum folks, that go and search TPT for content that was created within the district. And they found one of their teachers had profited about $60,000 in 1 year.
Oh, my goodness.
And they offered them their job or to continue with TPT, and they decided to keep their job.
Wow.
So it's a thing.
Yeah. No, and I've seen different articles where a district sues basically an employee for this specific case, and it's a real thing.
Yeah, so. I would say something that we probably don't read necessarily: teacher contracts and teacher handbooks.
Oh God, I know. I was just thinking about that. I actually was discussing
we don't read those things.
The beginning of the year and how quickly we are going, like our job as instructional coaches and tech directors and whoever else it might be, how much content we actually have to get to our employee to basically onboard them.
Of course.
And we have such a limited amount of time because of the teacher contract.
Yep.
So a normal employee in a normal scenario, whatever it might be, you would take as much time as you possibly, even did some training and whatever it might be. You might take 2 weeks to make sure you walk through all of the things to make sure we onboard you and you really truly understand, like, what are you doing there? But then you read through what are the policies that govern your job and those. I can guarantee there's a lot of teachers out there right now that are listening that have not read that teacher handbook.
We just struck
and it's
like
huge.
Fear into the hearts of so many teachers.
No, but I'm serious. And I was
going to be like, what was her name again? I don't like her.
I don't like her anymore.
Yeah, I don't
care what they say.
I was a union rep and the president of our local union, and these types of things, not specifically the copyright issue, but just the concept of not reading your contract and then violating it without intent.
Without intent,
And then violating it also because you saw somebody else doing whatever the behavior or you said, oh, I thought everybody was, kind of that thing. It's like, no, you signed a contract. It's not.
You actually can't do that.
It's not pretend world. It's, this is real and you actually signed it. So it's important to do.
Of course.
And it's filled with a bunch of things that may or may not ever be relevant to you. Mm-hmm. But it's important to go ahead and know them. And then it's important to ask questions, too. You can ask your district leaders questions about specific things that you're doing to make sure that you're following and abiding whatever it might be.
And you should totally, ask questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Find out what your laws are. Find out what your policies. Find out the contract that you signed.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you should know. I'd love to switch gears.
Yeah.
A little.
Okay.
I keep my Facebook friends list is very small. We're Facebook friends. Oh, right?
I feel so honored.
And it's so small. But and I've told you this off air, the things that you talk about on Facebook specifically, I don't know if you talk about them anywhere else, but I've asked you if we could talk about them. So I'm going to
try not to get emotional too. So
you talk so personally and eloquently and emotionally and in a love. I don't even know the words about your about mental health and about yourself as it relates to that. And it's awesome to watch you talk about it and be so open about it. And I love that teachers are starting to talk about, educators are starting to talk about their mental health. Yeah. We had
Jennifer
Clifton on just recently, who spoke so great about teacher health and mental health. Mm-hmm. And obviously we're very good friends with Mandy Froelich, who's been hanging around.
Yeah.
And we're going to have her on in a couple weeks. And she talks about this too. Yeah. And this is like a thing that we've ignored for so long.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want to say about it, but I just wanted to say thank you for being so open and honest about what you talk about and about you personally, because everyone is different and everyone deals with these things different, and everyone's world, I've even talked, I have a ridiculously serious case of imposter syndrome that I deal with constantly.
Yeah.
And I've talked about that a little bit, and everyone approaches things differently.
Yeah.
So maybe talk just a little bit about that, and however you want to do that.
So I guess I've always kind of struggled with mental health. And I say always, I distinctly remember I tried to commit suicide in my senior year of high school. And fortunately it didn't work. But that was the first time that I started seeing a therapist and started antidepressants and really trying to work on myself. And there was also family issues that were going on at home. And so that was, the impetus for a lot of that work, or a lot of that anguish and kind of trying to figure things out. My dad actually passed the summer after I graduated high school. So not even probably a year after all of this went down. And It's now been 18 years since he passed, and we buried him the day before I started my first day of undergrad, and I'm gonna try not to cry. I just kept going.
Yeah.
And I've stayed busy for 18 years.
Wow. And just never
Yeah.
really
And haven't really processed all of that.
And actually,
Yeah.
And so a series of events, and August being a month full of anniversaries, good and bad, just led me to a place that I was like, oh, it's time for some help.
Yeah.
So I've been seeing a therapist. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Back on antidepressants, officially diagnosed with high functioning anxiety, which I didn't know was a thing. I just thought everyone functioned this way. And also like trying to understand, I've always understood like my Myers-Briggs and my StrengthsFinder through Gallup, but also understanding my Enneagram, being a number 3, and an achiever, and what that means for me personally and professionally. And then working on a bunch of things with my therapist has helped. And I just wanted to be really transparent about that.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't seeing a lot of folks. I also feel the imposter syndrome. Like when I moved out to DC and you're around really important people.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The very first day that I was in the office, I rode the elevator with Secretary King, and I was like, what am I doing here? I have no idea. And so I have dealt with that a lot. And if I have any sort of platform, I felt it was really important to share, because I also think that there's some sort of like what people see of me in public. And guess what? It's not always rainbows and sunshine. It's really not, because I have really, really low lows, and I think other people do too. And so that's why I felt a little more compelled to share so transparently. And I've had a number of people, and I wasn't expecting the amount of text messages and DMs and people coming up to me in the middle of conferences that I have never met before, saying, I really appreciate the posts that you've been putting up there, and just knowing that I'm not alone, because I also feel this way, but I don't talk about it, or I can't post about it, and I'm happy to. So it's meant a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's you never know what people are dealing with, and your smile is incredible, and your laugh, and you're so like great to talk to, and you never know.
Yeah.
You know what's going on, and so to be willing to put yourself out there and share it and talk about it with us even is it's going to inspire people. It helps people, even if that wasn't your intent.
Right.
And it doesn't need to be like, you don't need to do anything for anybody. You do it for you.
Yeah, it was just really healing to write that stuff too. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
There's something too that, I mean, as far as what's happening now in today's society, whatever it might be, that I think is really healthy, and it's called that stigma that comes with, you know, any type of mental health issues. We understand that it's important to share those things as best you can in whatever situation, whatever it might be, and to not feel that number one, that you're alone. And the more that we actually hear those things, the more obviously that the rest of us that maybe don't have that platform, or maybe we just don't want to say anything, you know, whatever it might be, or we can't for whatever the reason may be. But we feel like, hey, there's something I can do about this.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not alone. There's something I can go ahead and do about this. And I can start healing, you know, whatever it might be. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
How can people talk to you, connect with you on Twitter, learn more about what you do in your work?
Yeah. So I am KM Ishmael on Twitter, ISHMAEL. And if you go to the New America website, newamerica.org, and you look under the education policy program, more stuff about what I do for work is on there as well.
Awesome. Kristina Ishmael, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for listening to OnEducation. My name is Glenn Irvin. My co-host is Mike Washburn. OnEducation is part of the On Podcast Media Network. You can listen to this show and many others by great educators like Monica Burns, Mike Matera, Tisha Richmond, and many more by visiting onpodcastmedia.com. Want to get in touch with us? Check out our website at oneducationpodcast.com. You can tweet us at OnEducationPod. Mike is at Mr. Washburn on Twitter, and I can be found on Twitter at IrvSpanish. You can find us on Facebook by visiting facebook.com/OnEducationPod. We're also on Instagram @OnEducationPod. If you're enjoying the show and think others would too, we would be thrilled if you shared it with them. Please leave us a rating or review in Apple Podcasts or the Google Play Store. When you leave a rating, it gives our rankings a boost. This helps others discover the show. We want to thank our presenting sponsor, Classcraft, for supporting us. Check out classcraft.com/OnEducation to learn more about them. Thanks as always for listening. Stay awesome and see you soon.